Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to Partnerships for Profit. Today we are joined by Josh Schmerling, who is the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of LawPro.ai and a partner at Zirkin Schmerling. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Can we start off? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about LawPro.ai, and a little bit about Zirkin Schmerling?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. So when I graduated law school back in 2008, and the economy was horrible then. There were no jobs. People were offering lawyers $35,000 a year to start. And I made the decision at that point to start a law firm right out of law school with a partner. He was older than me, and he had other partners. He left his partners. We started the firm together, and we've grown our law firm quite a bit. And we got stuck a couple of years ago where we were growing our firm, but our pain point was we were not able to get through medical records fast enough to be able to keep the cases moving the way that we needed to be able to continue to grow. And that's where I realized we had this pain point, and technology was coming to a place where it could fix this pain point. And I spoke to my brother about it, who's my co-founder and CEO of LawPro, and we talked through different things that we might be able to do through technology. And we created LawPro.ai, which basically helps law firms understand the medical records. We create medical chronologies, case summaries, demand letters, anything you need that's related to the medical records and billing. And we implemented it first with our firm, which allowed us to really just explode, really just put gas on the fire. And we realized it was such a good solution. We went to market with it, and now work with law firms throughout the whole country, some of the biggest firms in the country, all the way down to solo practitioners. And just by taking that pain point out, we now have grown from a firm that, as of a couple of years ago, we had about 12 employees and a couple hundred cases, to now we have about 40 employees and well over 1,000 cases, because we're able to get cases done faster using LawPro and increase the case values. So when you put those numbers together, you can get more cases done faster, but you're losing nothing with the client. You're actually increasing case values for the clients. Then clients are happier, and we're able to put more money into marketing then, which then brings in more cases, and it's kind of a flywheel.
Wow. And I'm curious, was there a moment where it really sort of clicked with you that there was a need for something like LawPro.ai?
Yeah, it was really, I realized that my best staff, my best people, were reading medical records all day long because they had to. We had no other way to understand how to value a case or what strategies to use on a case. And for my more significant cases, I had to use my best people in the office to help figure out, what we were going to do with the case and how we should value it. And I knew there had to be a better way, we were at a point in time that was not a good use of their time to be doing that. And we weren't able to get the case to flow the way that we wanted to. So that struck me as, these people in my office, they're very talented. And there's other things they could be doing. Since moving to LawPro now, one of those paralegals of mine is now my director of operations. She runs the firm. So she went from reading medical records all day to now running the office. And the other one manages all of our pre-litigation, all of our trainings for new staff, and continued trainings for current staff. So they've taken on these huge managerial positions when before their heads were just buried in medical records all day long. And I knew that was not a great use of their time, but really it's what we needed at the time before we were able to implement LawPro.ai.
Now, is LawPro.ai something that you are implementing at other firms as well, right? This is a widespread thing?
Oh, yeah, widespread. We work with firms in almost every state at this point.
Wow.
And there's no limit in terms of size. So, we work with the biggest firms in the country that are handling tens of thousands of cases, all the way to, small solo practitioners. There's one I spoke to this week who has about 130 cases. And we're a great fit for each other. So the way that we do things at LawPro and the way that we price things, we have different pricing based on size and volume. And that way we can be accessible by all law firms. I think it's really important. First of all, it's important to keep in mind why we're doing this. We're doing this to help people that have been injured no fault of their own, innocent victims that are now injured. And so our goal is to help every law firm create the most value for those innocent victims. And it's really important to me that whether you are a solo practitioner or a law firm with 1,000 personal injury lawyers, that you have the best in class technology to go up against billion-dollar organizations.
Right.
A State Farm or an Allstate, a Geico, these companies are worth billions of dollars. And here we are, some firms, small solo practitioners with maybe one paralegal that have this fight against $1 billion company. And we don't want them to be priced out and not have the ability to use the best in class technology when they're going and having that fight for their clients and being an advocate.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, because there's such, AI is such kind of a buzzword right now, right? It feels like everybody's talking about AI. There's a lot of sort of uncertainty about legislation regarding AI and everything. Do you encounter ever sort of a pushback from, say an older generation that may be, kind of wary of using AI, or, these firms have been operating the same way for years and years and years, and now you're coming in and upsetting the system? Do you ever feel that pushback from anyone, and how do you handle that, if so?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So LawPro is about 2.5 years old, and we went to market about ballpark 18 months ago.
Mhm.
When we first went to market, we were getting that. It didn't matter older or younger. There was just pushback of, I don't need this. We've been doing it this way. We're doing fine. Younger people saying, I'm kind of old school. There's a lot less of that now.
Right.
And people have started to understand either you're going to get on this technology train or your firm will be left behind. And at some point, your firm will not be in business. And what I try to explain to lawyers, so it's very rare that we get this pushback nowadays. But just the other day, I was speaking to a young attorney who's younger than me. And I guess I'm not so young anymore, but she's younger than me. And she said, no, I'm old school. I don't do this. I don't use technology. What I tried to explain to her, I was like, it's the same thing as lawyers that went from a typewriter to a PC. If a lawyer said, no, I don't need a PC, I just use a typewriter, I've always used a typewriter, that firm eventually would have been at a huge disadvantage and eventually wouldn't be in business if they stuck with that.
Right.
So it's the same kind of thing going on here. The ability, and at the end of the day, every law firm has the same thing. If you're in it for the right reason, you're in it to help your clients. And if you want to help your clients the best way possible, you have to use the best technology. Otherwise, there's stuff being missed. Humans are not perfect. Humans miss things every day. And I have countless stories of when the AI has picked up things for law firms that use LawPro that created more case value that would have been missed otherwise. And that extra case value obviously goes to helping their injured clients.
Right. So when LawPro.ai is being implemented into a firm, I guess, and their processes and procedures, what are some of the first things that you're sort of looking to use AI to automate and relieve them of the burden of, I guess is the right way to word that?
Yeah. So what's really great about LawPro is it can be used throughout your entire case process. So just taking from the beginning of the case, you have a new client, let's say they've been injured in an auto accident, and they start with their medical treatment. What's really important is to be able to keep track of how their treatment's going to make sure things are being documented properly.
Sure.
And so what LawPro does is it provides file summaries. So as you upload files and as they're uploaded to LawPro, it gives you a summary of every file automatically using AI and engineering. And that allows you to make sure that the treatment's going the way it's supposed to. Every once in a while, a medical professional will put, the wrong body part was hurt somewhere. So their first date might say left hand, the next day it says right hand. You want to try to correct that in real time, because if you don't, it's going to cause serious problems for that client. Or you might see, LawPro will pull out referrals. If you've been referred somewhere for treatment. So if you've been going to physical therapy for several weeks and it's not helping you, and now you've been referred to pain management, or you've been referred for an MRI and you haven't gone, the file summaries will tell you that there's been a referral now. And if the paralegal or lawyer sees that you haven't been going to that referral, they can follow up in real time and say, hey guys, the doctor has recommended this because this is what they think will help you get better. And you haven't done it yet. How can we help you? How can we assist you? So you're providing better help to your clients and making sure that the idea is that your client gets better, obviously. You want your client to get better and to make a full recovery.
Right.
And following the doctor's instructions, I think gives you the best opportunity to do that. So LawPro is helping you follow along the course of treatment and as close to real time as possible. As the records are coming in, you're getting these summaries. And then when the client's done with all their treatment, you have to figure out how much to ask the insurance company for. And so We help you write the demand letter using AI and engineering. A demand letter is written in 20 seconds with our office, with LawPro. So very, very simple. And then we even help you negotiate with the insurance company. So you can ask LawPro, what are the best negotiating points to argue with the adjuster? Or what are the issues in the case that I need to be aware of that the adjuster is going to bring up? And when the adjuster tells you something, you can in real time ask LawPro a counterpoint. So it helps you actually negotiate the case with the insurance company. And if the case settles there, terrific, great, it's done, great. But if the case doesn't, it needs litigation, you can have LawPro help you write bad faith letters to the insurance company, put more pressure on them. You can have internal memos written for you. You can have it help you answer discovery. You can have it help you cross-examine defense experts and even put on your own experts, your medical experts. So we really help from the very beginning. It helps you prep your clients for depositions. So from the very first stage, when the client's starting with their medical treatment, throughout the entire process, settlement, and even litigation, LawPro can be there to help you and your clients.
Well, and you mentioned all these things that LawPro can aid with and can help with. Do you think that it's sort of reached a zenith, or do you think that there is still more that this technology is going to be able to do and to improve as we move into the future and things advance?
We are nowhere close to the top right now. We are, what I like to say to people is we're in the first inning of a 9-inning game.
Wow.
So we're at the very, very beginning stages. It's incredible. It's mind-blowing. If you told lawyers 2 years ago, 3 years ago that you could do all this stuff, they would be shocked. They would be like, oh, that's not possible. That would change my firm. Well, now it is changing firms, but what we're going to be able to do in another year or two will be another new height. And I believe this will continue on for years to come still. And it's going to be amazing 5 years from now. I think law firms will completely change and transform how they do business 5 years from now.
Wow. And I mean, I guess, can we mine a little further? I mean, are there any specifics that you think are coming down the pipeline or that are on the horizon that, it is almost there,
Well, I think there's going to be a lot that's going to be coming out. So one thing you have right now is you have some groups that are trying to be an all-in-one. And when they try to be an all-in-one, their teams, whether it's their engineering teams, their AI teams, or both, they can't be really solely focused and digging as deep as they need to fix the issue. They become more of generalists. And when you're a generalist, you do everything a little bit, but nothing really, really well. What I'm starting to see now is you have groups. So a LawPro would be a group that's in terms of focused on medical records and billing, right? And you could have a group that's really focused on intake, let's say. And these groups now are starting to come together that are solely focused on their avenue. And when they start interacting together and meshing together, you have experts in certain areas using technology that now can talk to each other. And that's what's coming right now in this next year, as far as I see, in 2026. And that will continue to help the growth tremendously for law firms and will help their clients, because now you're going to have experts, whether it's in, let's say, intake calls, let's say an expert that only does discovery, an expert that only deals with billing and records. And you put them all together and you have them work seamlessly together, where there doesn't have to be any interaction between the law firm, then you're helping tremendously for everybody involved.
Well, and we've talked, quite a bit about, what it is that LawPro can do to help firms. But what if a firm could really use the help of something like LawPro, could really use the help in automating those things, but they don't take that step and they just keep on operating the same way they've always operated? What is that going to look like for them?
Eventually, in my opinion, that firm won't be in business. I mean, that's what I believe. That firm eventually won't be in business because your settlements are going to be taking too long. Clients won't be happy with you. And your average case value is going to be less because there's just stuff that humans miss. And so if you hear from a client, if one client tells another, hey, this law firm got my case done in 6 months, you waited a year and we have the same injuries and you got less case value, why would they want to work with that other firm? In addition to that, when you have humans still having to do every step of the process, that keeps humans busy on all these menial tasks. But a firm using technology can really focus on the client relationship. So my law firm now, Zirkin Schmerling Law, we do more interactions with the client than ever before. My paralegals, that's really one of their sole jobs, is checking with the client, talking to the client, having conversations with the client. And all of that leads to a better client relationship. And we all know the best way to get business and the least expensive way to get business, especially when, cost of acquisition's through the roof now and going only higher. The best way is through referrals. And so if you're an old school firm that doesn't believe any of this stuff, your cases are taking longer, they're settling for less money, and you're having less client communication. And if that client goes to a firm using technology and they're able to interact with the firm whenever they want to, as often as they want to, they're going to go back to that firm every day of the week.
Right. And you mentioned sort of the rapid growth that Zirkin and Schmerling experienced as a result of implementing these systems. How were you able to navigate such rapid growth? How were you able to sort of, stay afloat during that and not get completely overwhelmed? What were some of the strategies you utilized?
Well, it really comes down to our technology and our people, right? So the technology we've talked about quite a bit, and we've talked about the people a little bit. I had really amazing people on staff. If I didn't, we would have gotten overwhelmed. But I had really great people on staff that were able to take on much bigger roles, and roles that they really enjoyed a lot better. Reading medical records all day, every day, you're going to get burned out. Eventually, you're going to look for a new job or a new position. But we were able to switch those roles. And in doing so, with the team that we already had, it allowed us to not get overwhelmed and to continue the growth and then continue to build on the team. And that's what we've done. So we've built out even a bigger team with a lot of different people that have a lot of really great traits. And so we have not gotten overwhelmed. We keep on growing.
What is, I guess, and I am trying to figure out the right way to word this, is of all of the things that are being automated, all of the systems that are happening with AI that are kind of being integrated, is there an area where, say, because I feel like a lot of firms, they want to increase their speed and they want to increase their efficiency, but they don't want that sort of drop in quality, right? Is there conversely a system where an increase in speed leads to an increase in quality as well?
Yes, using technology. That's exactly what I'm saying LawPro helps with.
Right.
It will increase speed and increase quality. One thing that was very important for our office is we could not allow our quality to go down. We can only have technology if it was going to allow our quality to go up. And our quality has gone up because, humans are not perfect. And so lawyers think sometimes they're perfect, but there's things they miss that the technology just doesn't. The technology doesn't get tired. It doesn't have other calls coming in that maybe take your attention away. It doesn't, get burned out or just miss stuff. It catches these things. And the client communication, the number one reason lawyers get grievances is for lack of client communication. And now we can have so much more communication with clients because we don't feel like we have to have our heads buried in understanding billings and medical records, that the quality goes through the roof of the client experience. And and our office, we will not take on any technologies that will hurt quality for our clients. And I think that's the case for most firms that are in this for the right purpose, that quality is the most important thing. And with the technologies out there today, I don't think you're losing anything with quality. I think your quality is getting better with implementing the proper technologies.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, with this sort of technology kind of changing the landscape, right? I mean, what do you think is sort of the end result? I mean, we talked about, in 5 years' time, it's going to look completely different. What do you think can you kind of peel back the curtain? Do you have any predictions of what specifically you think that's going to look like? I mean, because it's a pretty daunting thing to think about, right?
Yeah, it's a crazy thing to think about. Sometimes it can be even overwhelming. I think so. Right now, we've been really focused on just talking about the personal injury space, which is a contingency fee space. I think it's really important to keep in mind the much bigger space is the hourly attorneys. There's a lot more hourly attorney than contingency fee attorneys. I think this is going to have a huge development on the hourly attorneys. Right now, charging whatever they're charging an hour, $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, whatever it is, there are going to be certain things that insurance companies or big companies that are paying for these hourly attorneys that are going to stop paying for. For example, they do not need to pay right now for their lawyers to do summaries of depositions. There are technologies that already do that for you today, but lawyers used to make thousands of dollars summarizing depositions. Eventually, insurance companies and big companies that hire a lot of these lawyers are going to say, we're not paying for that anymore. That's free, guys. That comes with the technology. Eventually, they're going to say, we're not paying for you guys to create medical chronologies. Right now, a lot of these big law firms that are paying hourly and are not on contingency fee, they get paid a lot of money to do medical chronologies for their clients. All these things down the road are not going to be paid for, I don't believe, by insurance companies and by big companies. It will be expected because the technology can do it in a matter of minutes. And so what all these hourly attorneys are going to have to look at is, okay, what's a flat fee that we can charge for our work? If I'm defending this case or if I'm trying this case, what can we charge XYZ company to do this, or this insurance company to do this? And it's going to have to move to more of a flat fee model, which I think is going to be really interesting to see how they deal with that, because they haven't had to deal with that before. It's all been hourly billings, and they always focus on how many hours are you billing, and this is what your rate is, and this is how much you have to bill. So I think they're going to have to change their business model in the next 5 years to more of a flat fee. So that's for non-contingency fee lawyers. And then you have the contingency fee lawyers. And I think really with the contingency fee lawyers, it will allow cases to go through the process with less human interaction and touch with the lawyer and the medical providers and with the lawyer and the insurance companies. And it will allow law firms to really focus in on clients. And I think at the end of the day, it will allow us to really help make sure the clients are day by day, step by step, getting the proper treatment to get themselves better. And hopefully at the end of the day, you have less people with permanent injuries, less people with ongoing pain as a result of their injuries, because we can really focus in on that. So I think that's a big thing coming really soon, not even 5 years, sooner than that.
I'm really curious about this. I guess this is something I've never really thought about, but this might be an odd question, but if there's a situation where, say a lawyer is trying a case in court and something comes up and it's, well, the AI has determined, say an AI has determined that this was the most likely sequence of events, or that this was the most likely thing. What is the admissibility in court of AI evidence, of AI generated results that suggest something?
Right. So I don't think with your example specifically, that's going to come into evidence law. I mean, you can use AI to help ask, what are the best questions to cross-examine the defense doctor with? Or what are the best questions to ask my expert doctor in front of a jury? Or what are the best points to put out in front of the jury? So you can ask it different questions about basically how to deal with witnesses, how to try your case. But it's going to give you strategies, but it's not going to give you evidence. I think one thing that will have to be looked at is now it's so easy to make pictures or fraudulent pictures, right? So if a client says to me, this is my car accident and their entire car is bashed in the back, and defense counsel says, well, that's not their car, that was created using AI.
Right.
That might be something down the road that has to be dealt with. Or if the defendant says, I didn't even hit this guy, look at what his car looked like. And they create an AI picture showing no damage, but my client has a picture that shows a ton of damage. Which one's authentic?
Right.
And so over time, pictures have just, you can see them. People say, take that picture, you move it into evidence. And it's very simple. That might become more difficult if you have a dishonest party on one side, whether it's plaintiff or defendant, because of what you can do using AI now. So it'll be easy. It'll be interesting to see how that might change things.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And I'm curious, when you think back on all of the firms that you have helped with the implementation of LawPro, is there one that really stands out in your mind that you saw an extremely positive transformation in as a result of that implementation, as a result of your help and guidance?
Yeah, sure. We get stories all the time from law firms throughout the country where they explain to us, hey, we were in a mediation and LawPro pulled this up for us, which we had missed, and we suddenly got a lot more value for our client. Or we cross-examined a doctor using LawPro, and the second the cross-examination was over, they called us looking to settle the case, which they had never done before in this case. Or we were negotiating with an insurance adjuster, and they told us the top offer was X, and we pointed out something the LawPro had found that we missed, and they suddenly increased the offer by 6 figures.
Oh wow!
So we hear these stories all the time, and every time we hear them, it's a huge win for both LawPro. It's a huge win for the law firm. Most importantly, it's a huge win for the injured victim, and it's great to hear, and it kind of reinvigorates you. Like, this is why we're here. This is what we're doing.
Right.
And so it's been really great to hear from our clients, all these wins that we've had.
And I would like to almost ask that exact same question, but apply it to Zirkin and Schmerling. Is when you think back on all of the clients that you have helped through Zirkin and Schmerling Law, is there a story that stands out in your mind of someone that you saw a really positive outcome for as a result of your help and guidance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it quite a bit, obviously, because we've been using this tool for quite a while now. One that's really interesting to me, that the story's not quite over on this one yet, but it's a really interesting one, is we had a client that was hurt on a bus accident, in a bus. And we typically don't take those cases. There's lots of reasons why we typically don't take those cases, but this was a client that had been a good client of ours, and we took the case. And it appeared like not much of a case. We kind of just did it as a favor. But the AI pulled out, the client only went to one hospital visit and was discharged. And it didn't seem like much of a case. But we have a rule in my office that everything has to go through LawPro before we send out any demand to an insurance company to make sure we're not missing anything. And what it pulled out was there was a couple of words that talked about how our client hurt her vocal cords in the bus accident case. So we saw that and we confirmed it with the client. She said her throat area had hit the seat in front of her. And she was still having trouble with her vocal cords. So she started having some more treatment then. She went back to her primary care and followed up with treatment. Well, it turns out she has a permanent injury to her vocal cords now from this accident.
Oh, wow.
And this case is currently in litigation. It's still a ways away from being done. But it's a case that, years ago would have been valued at somewhere in the, couple of thousands, 3,000, 4,000, 7,000, somewhere in that range. To now it's a six-figure case because unfortunately the client has a permanent injury with her vocal cords now on what at first appeared to be just some small collision that we were just helping the client, doing her a favor because she'd been a good client. And those are the small things. My office, myself personally, we thought we did a great job at reviewing everything. We'd have the paralegals review it. We'd have the lawyers review it. We thought there's no way we're missing anything. And humans just aren't perfect. And we do miss stuff. And so I'm really proud of how that case is moving along because we basically are fighting the fight for our client. Now the insurance company is trying to act as if, her vocal cords will be fine, but like we're in this conversation now, which would never have been the case before. It just sort of been like, oh, she hurt her neck and back a little bit and she's fine. She went to one hospital visit. So it'll be really interesting to see how this one plays out.
And Zirkin and Schmerling had a pretty significant impact on dog bite law. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we do more dog bites, I think, than anybody else in the state of Maryland. We practice only in Maryland. So first of all, my law partner was a state senator in Maryland. He was in the Maryland legislature for about 20 years. And the laws in Maryland with dog bite have changed a number of times. And there was a case that came out, Tracy versus Zaleski, that basically changed what the common law had been here in Maryland. Maryland had followed the common law. And without going through all the details of it all, this case came out, flipped everything on its head, and the state of Maryland determined there had to be legislation put in to put the law back into some format that made more sense based on what the court had done. And so my law partner, who was in the state Senate at the time, helped work on that legislation. And that is the leading legislation now in Maryland. And then I had a case a couple of years ago where the insurance company, the defense refused to settle the matter. And we went to trial and we won a nice verdict for our client. The top offer leading up to trial was $6,000. We won $132,000.
Wow.
And so it was a very nice verdict. And they weren't happy with the verdict, so they appealed it. And on appeal, not only did the appellate court, the Maryland appellate court, keep the verdict, say that the verdict was correct and everything done, trial was correct, they expanded the dog bite law. And what it did to expand the dog bite law was basically said that your dog can be running at large, even on your own property, if it doesn't have a leash on, if it's not restrained in some way. And so what that did was that ended up protecting everybody who's a delivery driver. I mean, a lot more than that, but we see this a lot with mail carriers, Amazon delivery drivers, anyone that has to go on your property to deliver something. Those people before could not collect. If your dog just ran out of the house and bit them, it was too bad for them. Now in Maryland, the dog owner is at fault if the dog runs out of the house and bites a mail carrier or a delivery driver, and also anywhere else. So if you're at a state park or anywhere, whether it's on somebody's property or off property, as long as you're not trespassing, as long as you're not tormenting the dog or doing something illegal, those cases are now strict liability. And so that is the leading case here now in Maryland as it relates to the law.
Wow. Well, whether it be with LawPro, whether it be with Zirkin and Schmerling Law, it sounds like everything that you're doing in your career is based around helping people, whether you're helping firms with LawPro whether you're helping victims recover. I mean, where did that drive to help people come from? Is that something that's just innate to you as a person, or is that something you've cultivated along the way?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. You want to make a difference in this world, right? You have one life to live, and I think it's important you make a difference. And so trying to find a job that helps society in some way. My mom worked for Baltimore City Public Schools her whole career. And I saw that where she worked at really tough schools, low pay, just trying to help young kids that came from bad families. A lot of them came from bad homes. And then my dad was a workers' comp lawyer who was helping people that were injured at work and hadn't been paid for a period of time, and their phones were being turned off and their cars were being repossessed, and just trying to help workers get back to work and get the pay that they were owed. So we grew up in a household where, you try to do something. It's fine to make a livelihood. And we grew up like normal middle class, good family. But if you can make a livelihood and help people, it's a win for everybody and win for society. And so that's been really important in terms of my journey and what I want to do for a career.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, this has been an absolutely amazing conversation. If anybody out there listening could use the help of LawPro, could use the help of Zirkin and Schmerling Law, where can the people find you?
Yeah, best way to find me is just to email me, josh@lawpro.ai, josh@lawpro.ai, and email me with anything, whether it's technology needs, technology questions. If you have a case you want to refer here in Maryland, happy to help in any way that I can.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been incredible.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Partnerships for Profit, presented by LeDuc Entertainment. Josh, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.